So peace, everyone. This is the Alkalized to Realize talk show, and today we have the beautiful Maria. Maria is a breatharian, I think I can say. She's into pranic living and things of that nature, you know. But yeah, you know, you could take us off, I guess I can say.
Okay, so I it's not the first time when I'm with somebody from this team, from the Alkalized
Yeah, this
Life.
is right. This is the second time.
So before everything, I want to say hello to everybody. Hello to everybody who will watch this video.
Right.
And
Yeah.
hello to you.
Hi.
And I think somehow how I can start this from my point is to introduce myself for the ones that don't know me. I'm sure some of the people who will watch this, because it's a small interconnected group. Some people are already up to date.
Mm-hmm.
So I live now in Austria, mostly half of the year. When it gets cold, I go to other countries. I live with my family. I have 2 children and a partner. I have 2 boys. And now to connect myself with the subject, I am living a pranic life since around, wow, memory, around 1 year. I think 1 year I can say that it has been stable for me. Although it has been also in the past, maybe for 3 years and 4 months, I think, now, from the first moment when I entered in contact with this, and then it had the incubation period, and 1 year ago, it actually started by surprise to manifest in my life and to be felt as more and more real. Rather than something phantomatic and abstract that I would be reading on the internet.
Yeah, right. So you think you want to tell us exactly what pranic living is?
I can tell you exactly what it means for me.
Yeah,
Because
okay, that's good too.
it represents different things for everybody. In the beginning, I could relate myself to pranic living because there was a clear absence of food. So this was somehow the first thing that I could relate myself to.
Yeah.
And then somehow, just because there was not this need anymore to eat food, so there was not something like I was trying to get away.
Right,
there was not
yeah.
a plan that I was trying to develop my resistance or any type of endurism. It was just
Natural.
a natural absence of need. So it's the same like like when you walk on the street, you don't need to walk. The same was feeling for me, was like somehow this question was absent from my mind, from my perspective upon life. It was present because I had to cook for my family. So it was not like I was in a parallel universe in which it didn't exist. It existed, but for me, it was not a matter of being consequent with this. So it was not a matter of wanting or not wanting. Well, so this is how it started. More, it was about this, but then it became. Actually, so in the beginning, it was more what was missing. If I would compare it to what was before. Before I had the normal life, I was eating 3 meals per day. And then this disappeared. So in the beginning, I was relating to pranic living, to what was not present every day in my life. So therefore food. But then it became to what was present, what this big space brought on the surface. And then somehow my whole focus or interest changed to a very deep introspection about who I am, about my challenges, about my coping mechanisms. So I would say pranic living at this point in my life is more about a deep devotional inspection on my nature and this curiosity to find out more about what really stands truth, what really stands in all these temporary things that come and go, and some today you like, today you don't like. Stress comes, stress goes. So it's more about this. It's somehow a integrative process.
Yeah. I really like what you said earlier about how when you got into pranic living or breatharianism, I want to say it was like for you, it wasn't. You started to realize that it wasn't particularly about what was missing in your life, which was food, but more about what was being added. And, I definitely resonate with that because I like fasting too. Like occasionally I like fasting and things of that nature. And like I guess from an outside standpoint, people see me and they think like you're lacking food and things of that nature. But it truly isn't about what you're not receiving, but it's not about what is missing, but what is being added on. Because it's like when you fast or live a pranic lifestyle, you really do, in a sense, I guess I can kind of say, become more enlightened. And I really do think that when you start to live in a chronic lifestyle, you do tend to live in a different dimension. I kind of want to say, because you start seeing things very differently, and in a way things start speaking to you differently too. So yeah, I definitely understand, and you become more sensitive to energy too. So definitely get what you're saying there.
Yeah, if it would be to say what are the visible and tangible differences, from a life which I was not aware that I am pranically nourished, and a life in which just my focus changed, my awareness changed. I just realized that I am, no matter what. It's just that I don't let this relationship, between me and the life force to be sensed, to be understood, to be. So what I could say that actually changed, so that I can actually see it and touch it and like punctually on a sensitization of my body. You could say happened.
Yeah.
So I'm much more sensitive to in this. I want, for me it's very important. I also don't want to use so much this lexicon of energetical fields and like this, because the truth for me is something much more deep than this. And whenever I'm trying to say a message to somebody, I'm trying to say that, to say it like a child, like in the most simple words that are possible, and words that somehow I never heard them from anybody, and I hear them in the moment from my body or from. So, for example, when I am in a room, I am much more sensitive to the
vibration, I guess we can say.
Yeah, you can say to the vibration. I'm much more sensitive if my actions if my rhythm of interacting or of entering into emotion or exiting from emotion, it is hurting or it is supporting the other. So actually, this is actually what was the most important in my interaction with others, and especially with my partner, because I can practice this every day. I can see where I'm not gentle, so I can see where I can slip away instantly and I'm not present. Because if I'm present, the interaction between two beings is going to be is going to contain love, and when it contains love, then it's never going to seem unfair. It has patience. It's not like now we talk about the most beautiful things and then I say, okay, now I go. You know, it brought me this sensitivity so that I can maintain a fair interaction with another being. And this is somehow also related to energy management, because then what I receive, I give, and then there is a correct, it's like an innocence. There is a correct flow of whatever there is, but that only can come if there is presence.
Yeah, so what I'm getting is you're saying one of the things that this has also helped you to do is to be able to be, like you said, present, in a sense, tap into the moment. And I guess live in the moment. I think this would make sense to me, because the way I kind of perceive it in a sense is like when there's food in the equation, in a sense, I feel like sometimes our mind might be so busy thinking about when is my next meal gonna be, or things that I don't even know if you get what I'm saying, but
I mean, I still have to prepare breakfast, lunch, and dinner for 3 people in my family. So even if I don't consume as usual, there still is like I'm constantly surrounded by food, by products, and yeah.
So would you say this has really, really helped you to develop a strong will or like discipline?
Here actually I would say no, and here is the trick, because whenever there is forcing in this journey, is gonna become a goal oriented, and that is the only thing this is not. I had moments when I could feel that is going into a goal oriented direction, but then I just accepted that in those moments it's better to consume, so it's better to balance it instead of just pushing and pushing and pushing and saying no, I am not allowed to do this. No, so it's in the end it's really just just a matter of how much how much care you give to yourself, without judging that this circumstance is better than the other, but analyzing it. Like, for example, when I consume food, I can say to you that there is an experience in that which is very different than the experience of not consuming. Now I could say that one is better than the other, but the only thing that I can really say is just there are two different experiences. I don't want to compare them, because if I compare them, then I don't want to do this, but I want to do that. And then if I want to do that too much, then I will return to this because I don't give myself permission to do this. So, it's not a game of control. It's actually, it's like you say, I don't play any game. It's like you step back out of the game and you say, I don't play games. I just go with myself on the, in this freedom, and I find out. It finds out by themselves. You find out by yourself in the end where are you gonna go?
Yeah. Yeah, you know, I think that's it's really beautiful, and I do feel like that is the way, in a sense, how we should live life, because you know, I think like at the end of the day, there is like, in a sense, no good or bad, like in the sense that I feel like our soul just wants to experience, you know. Yeah, so I think it's really beautiful what you just said there. Yeah.
Like, look, for example, I am in a life circumstance that I have family, so I can say that when I don't consume, my family meals are a mess. Like, somehow to my children, they get a specific stability if all the members of the family, they share a moment by interacting or sharing food. So when I'm out of the equation, they really are lost. You know, it's like one child is moving, kids is taking from the other. You know, nobody sits in their places. Nobody is. It's full mess. So then sometimes I say, okay, when I see that it's like this, I say, okay, you know, maybe it's better that I stay with them and that we share like this. And for example, I don't consume when there is stress. I cannot consume when there is stress because then I'm just stressed. So I will never consume out of stressful situation. I mean, it can happen because it's a coping mechanism, you know, when we are stressed to chew on something or on. But I tend to see this and I try to get out of this because it's really hurting my body and my clarity.
Right. Yeah. So you know, it's like I'm gonna go into, you know, like at a scientific standpoint, it's like we need to eat, we need nourishment, you know, like we need food. So then I want to go on to ask you, where or how is it that you don't particularly consume, but yet you are still living and being nourished? So in a sense, like, where are you getting your nourishment, I guess, is my question.
Um, to be honest, I didn't found, you know, like I yet didn't found the place from where I get. So I don't think it is somehow a place, you know, from where it's like there's, I don't know, maybe metaphorically or like this, you could say that, okay, there is a source which gives you, but I cannot, I would lie if I would say something like this.
Right.
But I do get some inner revelations, for example, about my body. Like, I experienced in the first 4 or 5 months, I actually experienced that the humidity in my cells are reaching a very perfect level. Maybe when a person consumes food and like this, maybe their cells are not at the harmonious level of humidity. I don't know. But for sure, in the past, I was not feeling hydrated, or, you know, I was feeling all the time like I was feeling like there's from my bones missing water. There's dryness in my body. There's not flexibility in my muscles. Okay, so I felt that the humidity in my cells have reached a harmonious level, and also that the cells have experienced something which I also call it atomization. So when they by themselves are able to produce energy. Now, when by themselves are able to produce energy somehow by not being, you see, like when you don't consume food, your your body is open and your cells are breathing. So for example, if I am if I'm in an environment with many people, I can feel that is passing through me many things. Like,
Right, yeah.
your field passes through me, but it doesn't stay here. It just passes through me.
Passes, yeah.
When we have food in our body, maybe I can sense your field, depending on how lightful I am. Maybe your field can enter into my field, but still is gonna, like, I don't know if it's gonna exit. You know, it's not fluent.
Yeah.
This is
right.
this is what I call it universal recirculation. When your body is breathing, you enter in universal recirculation. So the life force just passes through you. You don't hold it into your body. You don't do anything with it. It just passes through you. Now, when your cells have the perfect humidity, then this life energy passes through you, and because of the humidity, it creates a kind of electrolysis, so that you actually gain energy. This is on a mechanical level what I have experienced. Can we just stop it a little bit somehow, or a pause, because one of my child.
So okay, we're back. There was just a little technical difficulty, I guess we can say. But yeah, you know, like she was saying about hydration in a sense being I want to say like self-sustainable, right? Like your cells have, in a sense, adapted to the point where they can utilize, like, I want to say, the energy outside to make their own energy. Or what would you say? Because, you know, you did say that your cells have opened up and they're more, your body is more, in a sense, transparent to, you know, the energy that goes through it, right? So you let it go in and out or whatever. Well, can I also say one more thing? You know, I really think that what you're saying is relevant and things of that nature, because, like, if you think about it, we in of ourselves, in a sense, live on this earth, which is self-sustainable, you know, like the earth, and we are like a micro of the macrocosm, you know, like it's a fractal of the big and the small. So it would make sense to me that if the earth can be, in a sense, self-sustainable, that we ourselves can also be self-sustainable. I mean, besides the sun giving us energy too, but yeah.
What? So now to connect myself a little bit with this thing that you said, that we somehow take energy from outside. I think here is very important. We humans have the tendency to see ourselves as very central. So it's like we get, we take, we. It's like, and that is, and I'm not saying in a negative sense. I'm just saying it exactly like the words. This is the egocentric conception. Is when you put yourself somehow in the center, and everything what is around is supporting you one way or the other. But that is because we see everything from our perspective, from our singular, separate perspective. Well, in pranic nourishment, this idea gets very easy deconstructed, in the sense that there is life energy passing through you. So you're the being. Myself, I'm not the main actor who gets and gives. It's just a thing that finally I don't trap it, I don't give it, I don't take it, and I let it to pass through me. So from this point of experience, there's not so much this transactional, perception. Is not taking or giving. The sun doesn't give us energy. The sun is also part of this life force creational movement complex of everything. Now, what came to my mind was one time I planted some. I was in La Palma and I planted in the earth some salads and some stuff, and I put water, and and in that moment I was around. In that moment, I sensed that my sensation was. I actually know, because I'm a very curious person. I actually went very close with my ears and with my face, because there was somehow a movement happening, a motion happening there. I was much more. I was somehow microscopically focused with all my senses, not only my eyes and so on. And I could hear the water entering into the earth, and then I could see how the plant somehow has a reaction to this. So this nourished me. My ability to inspect, not through a perception, but through my, as much as possible, aware senses, to inspect a circumstance, to inspect emotion, to inspect an action of something. So when you have this openness towards almost everything that is happening in your day-by-day life, you sit in a place and you hear the bird, and you hear it in a way that you didn't heard it until now. This by itself, this action is somehow more complete than before. So this nourishes you. Like somehow your synapses, you get a complete experience of what you should experience here, and that is also a very little one, And as you expand into this, you have the possibility to really experience it fully, without focus, without goal, without intention. So then you just, and it becomes more and more ecstatic, and that is actually what is nourishing you. This ecstasy, which comes from from a contemplation. It's I know, somehow I know this sounds quite abstract, but in the same time, I sense how this makes sense on another level. When I interact with somebody, there is something which is recognized inside, also by the others. So this is actually what is nourishing, this recognition. It's a logicality beyond words, beyond beyond ideas, beyond rationality, maybe.
I want to say, in a sense, were you speaking like, in a sense, like I kind of want to say to go back to being a child, in the sense that when we're children, we don't particularly label things. We see things as they are. We don't really think, oh, that's an apple, it's red, it tastes this way, this blah 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 blah. And I think when we are doing this, like not putting any labels, then I think we get to perceive something for truly what it is, and that's like tapping into, I want to say, like the source of it, and through us tapping into that source, it nourishes us as well, because I think like there is a deeper connection that happens then and there, and in a sense we get to feed off of that. So I guess I kind of know what you're saying. I hope what I said there was
Yeah.
yeah, it's a beautiful way to live that way. To live, to, like you said, to just let life happen, in a sense, instead of, so just let life happen, like what you were saying earlier with the discipline and things, to just like let life happen instead of you happening to life, right?
Yeah. And there are also other things that I have experienced that are somehow nourishing. For example, in my case, really this love that I have discovered from my relationship with my children, by being a mother, this I can say that nourishes not in the sense that it gives me something or makes me more full, but in the sense that a part of me does not want to make mistakes anymore. And that is directly putting me on a way of well-being, like in the end is my relationship with well-being, because if I'm not okay, there is an instant reaction or instant feedback from my children that something is not okay. And they are very sensitive, and this doesn't go on, like this goes on very deep, profound things. It's not if mommy is angry or the children are restless. No, it's on a very deep, profound thing. So if something is not okay within myself, if I'm not in this relationship with my well-being, I get instant feedback. So I don't even have to say, or I can even pretend, but if in the deepness of myself there's something which can be harmonized, they are my instant feedback. So this somehow, this is what I call this motherly love. Is really the force that is nourishing me. Without this force, I mean, if somehow I have somebody to become better for, and I have somebody who shows me my mistakes directly, and in connection with pranic nourishment, it's very strong connected, because when I consume food, I get very easily distracted. I get very easily angry. I lose my patience. And why? Because this is not the way in which I feel the best. I feel heavy. I feel tired. And even if I eat fruits, so this shows me, and then I'm not the best mother that I could be, so it's very connected. And because of this, because I can see how it affects my children, for me, it's like the force that keeps me going on in the relationship with pranic nourishment, because I could very easily go back to food, because there's no problem in this. But it affects me. It's not how I want to be. It's not. I know I can be better. I know I can be clearer. I know I can be more understanding. I can have more patience.
Yeah. Yeah, I know what you mean. Like, for instance, I remember way back when I did this fast. I think I did this, like, I guess you can say, like, water fast, where I didn't eat nothing for like 6 whole days, right? And through that process, I felt amazing and very good. And then once I got out of the fast, I was still eating very light, like I wasn't really eating cooked food or anything. I was just eating like fruit and things of that nature. And then one day, my mom cooked some like rice and some just cooked some rice, and like I remembered how good my mother's rice was. So I decided, I was like, I want to try that. Like, I know it's good. So I did, I took like a bowl and I ate all of it. And what happened was I ended up like shutting down, and I like fell asleep, and I felt terrible. And I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, like just connected to this, whenever I go to my father, I visit the grandparents of my children. They are normal eaters. Like, they eat very little fruits and vegetables, and only cheese and milk and bread and so on. And I have a very long story with cheese in general. I was a cheese child, and whenever I go there, I enjoy eating cheese with them because it's from a good source. So on. I mean, it's the shepherd who makes the cheese, but the thing is that each time when I eat cheese at my father, I feel like I'm under narcotics. Like, I officially cannot move, like I am on opium. This is opium for me. I lay down, with my partner and say, what is happening? I can't move. Like I'm trapped in this body, and I feel so, there is such a strong resonance towards being blocked on the earth, you know, like here in a very small space, very close to the ground. Yeah, but again, these are experiences, you know. I'm not here to say if it's good or bad. Are just experiences on a through a medium, through a body that can experience.
Right, yeah. So, do you know anything about like the 7 chakras?
I know because I have heard a lot about this. So knowingly I know, but if if you ask me if I have experienced anything, um, yes, but I haven't experienced about every one of them in particular or connected somehow.
Mhm.
But I could experience in the beginning of my stabilization, of my pranic nourishment, I could experience that in the first part of my body, so like in the first center,
Mhm.
it was breathing. Like I could sense every day that it gets more and more relaxed. And but yeah, I didn't experience anything in particular to each of them. So it's more just technical information that I know.
Yeah, I bring that up because I was reading this book. It's called The Wheels of Life. I forgot the author, but it's this book on the chakras. And one of the things she did was, she correlated like the chakra with the food, and well, if you didn't know, the root chakra is like it's the physical body, and it's dense food and things of that nature. And it's like when you eat food, it goes down to your stomach, and in a sense, it takes you down to your root chakra. So I think this might be why you might experience this like density of feeling down, because in a sense, when you go from not eating at all, because it's like when you don't eat, you are in a sense utilizing like these 2 chakras up here, because these two, they feed off of prana or energy, I guess you can say. And it's like when you fast, you're tapping into these, so it's like you're up here, and then out of nowhere you eat something, and then you go all the way down here, so that's why. So that would make sense to me why you
Yeah,
would.
yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the thing is, since this thing with the pranic nourishment, I have to get my memory or my database. It's quite empty, so I don't function on memory anymore, and I'm always surprised because for the simplest things that people have explanations, I have no idea. Like I only base my answers on if I have real experience somehow, or I can relate my real experience to those words or
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So I can sometimes I feel quite stupid, quite foolish in front of people that are explaining this stuff. I'm amazed. I'm very interested. It makes
Mm-hmm.
sense that
Yeah.
it actually makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say it, because at the end of the day, it's not about what you know, but what you experience. And for me, I would rather experience a lot than learn knowledge, because the thing about knowing something is, because you know that thing, now you have to go do something with it, because if you don't do anything with what you know, then like that knowledge is pointless. So I don't particularly think what you know really, in a sense, I want to say matters. It's more about what you do. It's more about what you do. So it's like, I think it's really cool that you've experienced this thing that I'm speaking about. So it's like, either way, it doesn't really matter. Hmm. But yeah, that was pretty cool. How, what I said earlier about going back to being a child. Do you think you can maybe elaborate more on that? Like
Yeah,
your,
I can,
your
I can,
experience.
I
Yeah.
can, I can exactly. Um, Now, now my situation is quite stable in the sense that I manage to embody much more of the experiences. Um, but in the beginning, maybe in the first 6 months or 7 months, I was quite high on this. Let's say, like I had been, I was even somehow afraid to go in an aeroplane because I was afraid I'm gonna be lost because I was no longer functioning as I told you from memory. Like I was not guiding myself through directions. Somehow I was feeling like my body is being moved by some stuff. Also interacting with other stuff. So it felt like a child in the sense that I had no idea how things are gonna happen. This maybe people would be able to put it, to call it, to use words and to explain it as being in the present moment. But I was experiencing as having no idea what is going to happen and still have the trust that things are going to be okay. And facing things that were constantly somehow were making me to get rooted into this. Like, okay, now you are a little bit different, but you have to learn to be a little different with people. You cannot be a little different all alone in the house. So in the beginning, I spent a lot of time in the house because it was a safe place, and I didn't have to deal with other people's reactions to my frequency, let's say. But then I had to deal with all this, let's call all this adult stuff, like because look, in the beginning, I remember when I took an apple. I was with my partner, with my children in the playground, and the apple had a part which was a little bit more raw, and another part which was a little bit more ripe. And I smelled the apple, and I said to my partner, "Do you also sense like this?" The thing is, I could smell where the apple was raw, and when I closed my eyes, I saw colors such as yellow and green. And I could smell where the apple was ripe because it was smelling much more sweet, and this created colors in my visions with my eyes closed as red and orange. So imagine that I was fully immersed into this, like for the first time in my life, I can smell an apple different. I can smell the differences of an apple based on how much sun he gets on this part and on the other part. When I was going outside, the colors were much more bright, and I was getting lost. Like I was going from here to a lake with my children, and instead of walking 20 minutes, we were walking around 1 hour because I was stopping at every flower to smell it and to look and to see its color, and to finally interact with the things that until now I didn't because I was preoccupied with something else.
Right.
So in this sense, I was seeing life again for the first time like a child. But then these things, after a while, they didn't appear. If you live like this, you get used to this. So
Yeah. Yeah.
the yellow color that was super bright in the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
I was not seeing it anymore, but it was going on a more profound level. So somehow I was still keeping this sensation. I was still interpreting the word through sensation, and I still interpret them now. But I also have now this responsibility to not be like a crazy child, just having fun and being super amazed by everything around. So now I can also focus more on having a deep, true relationship with my children, healing the traumatic relationship between man and woman with my partner, um, learning how to manage my energy, learning how to go through purges so that my energy doesn't get depressed and angry and like this. So I'm still like a child, but in another sense, in a much more serious sense, because it becomes more profound. In the sense I see all this amazing stuff, and then you also see that they are temporary. So also parts of the interface that we see, of the reality that we see, it gets a little bit more liquefying, not so solid, but that is again temporary. So somehow from this amazement of everything, sensation based reality, it just becomes a profound silence through which, yeah, if it would be to say it poetically, it is more like it's like you are like I somehow I'm living my death moment by moment, so it becomes from excitement to profoundness.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very interesting. Interesting indeed. So it's like in a way I kind of want to say, it's like you went through all of that, and to a sense you can kind of say like it was like a tool that was being gifted to you, and then you learn that there's more ways to use this tool that you have than just having fun, I guess we can say. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I was also, I was talking with some friends of mine when I was a teenager, maybe starting from not 20. Okay, I was not actually a teenager. Around 20, I was using a lot of psychedelics. And I was talking with a friend recently, and I said, pranic nourishment and pranic lifestyle is exactly as you would have an acid trip, but without taking anything. So you would just learn to live outside of a conditioned mind, but you have to learn it little by little. In the beginning, it is going to be it's going to blow your mind. It's like in the beginning, if I was hearing some Indian music, I would instantly be transported with my whole being and my whole sensation into India.
Mm-hmm.
And then from all this, like it would be somehow the blissful mode of consciousness, the ecstatic mode of consciousness. Then I go into into some. It's more about integrity. It's more about the real development of character, real embodiment of that what you are. And
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That makes sense, It's in a sense it's like having this bizarre, I guess we can say like five-dimensional experience and then learning a way to bring it back to the 3D, right? Um, because but yeah, okay, we're back again. So what was it you were saying? Hmm.
okay, so to wrap up about this, about your question about the child, pranic nourishment is indeed to see life out of mental conditions. And I think that would be equal to how a child sees life. Also, for me, it's much more easy to interact with my children than in long, in long phases of pranic nourishment. From 3 days up, like from 3 days, 5 days, 7 days. After a while, it also becomes difficult because, yeah. But it's more easy. So in an intermediate phase of pranic nourishment, it's more easy to relate with the children, to deal with them, to understand their world, their reality, how they see things. Not everything is not so serious,
Right. Yeah. Definitely. Yeah, I definitely understand what you're saying on all of this. For me, I guess what I've honestly really got from this in a sense is like when you free yourself from food, would you say in a sense that's kind of what pranic nourishment is?
Can you answer? Can you answer?
So I said when you free yourself from food, but then I want to ask, would you say that's kind of what pranic nourishment is, to free yourself from food?
No. It may appear to be like this for a person who is not chronically nourished, or for a person who is in the beginning of their experience or experiment with pranic nourishment. No, but pranic nourishment, pranic nourishment is an action. That is the thing. Is a action of being constantly involved with yourself and finding out that yourself is not only located here, and then approaching the reality and parts of the reality with the same interest as you would approach yourself. Find out, okay, what is there? Why is this bird now singing? Or what does it mean when this bird is singing? It is a synchronicity somehow. So you somehow just open the synchronicity and you see it how it is.
Yeah, very interesting. And so then in a sense it's more like chronic living is more about letting the universe flow through you. Yeah, okay, that's beautiful.
And I think, yeah, of course, for that you need to not be preoccupied with something so obsessively that you're repeating it every day, 3 times a day. It's a matter of this. It's just you take somehow out the greatest obstacle.
Yeah, well, it has been really nice talking to you, Maria. So yeah, you guys, this has been the Alkalize to Realize Talk Show. We hope you guys have enjoyed. If you guys want to find us, we are on Facebook as the Philosopher's Stone. I think that's it. And then you can also find us on YouTube by Alkalize to Realize Talk Show. Thank you for watching. We hope you guys have enjoyed the show.